Commander Vec-9 pressed his mandibles together in what humans might call a grimace. 3 cycles ago, his species had been the undisputed rulers of this sector. Today he was watching a bipedal mammal with ridiculous hair flip through their most sacred texts, like she was reading a grocery list. "So, let me get this straight," the human female said, not bothering to look up from the glowing tablet. "Your entire civilization revolves around whoever can bench press the biggest rock? It is not mere physical prowess." Vec-9's translator crackled with indignation. "The trials of dominance test strength, cunning, endurance, and—" She waved a dismissive hand. "Where I come from, we call that a gym membership." The human's name was Maya Torres, though she insisted everyone call her Boss Lady after she'd somehow managed to defeat their previous alpha in single combat. The fact that she'd done it while wearing what appeared to be recreational footwear only added insult to injury. Vec-9's secondary hearts fluttered with anxiety as he watched her examine the Crown of Supremacy. The ancient artifact, forged from the cores of dying stars and blessed by 100 generations of alphas, sat on the table between them like a particularly gaudy paperweight. "You know," Maya said, picking up the crown and turning it over in her hands, "this thing is really heavy. What's it made of?" "Pure ego. That crown represents 10,000 years of— 10,000 years of what? Bad fashion choices?" She held it up to the light, squinting at the elaborate spikes and gems. "Seriously, who designed this? A teenage goth going through their more spikes equals more cool phase?" Vec-9 felt his exoskeleton begin to vibrate with barely contained rage. "You dare mock the sacred?" "Oh, I dare, all right." Maya grinned, showing an alarming number of teeth. "In fact, I dare a lot of things. Like this." Before Vec-9 could process what was happening, the human female had lifted the crown of supremacy above her head and hurled it across the command chamber. It struck the far wall with a resounding clang, bounced twice, and rolled to a stop near the waste disposal unit. The silence that followed could have been measured in geological epochs. "There." Maya dusted off her hands with satisfaction. "Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about real leadership." Vec-9's compound eyes bulged so far from his head that they nearly popped free of their sockets. You cannot simply. That crown has been passed down through a bunch of muscle-bound knuckle-draggers who probably couldn't find their own backsides with both hands and a star chart. Maya finished cheerfully. "Look, Vec. Can I call you Vec? Good. Here's the thing about your little crown tradition. It's stupid." "Stupid?" The word came out as a strangled wheeze. "Monumentally stupid. Cosmically stupid. So stupid that somewhere in the universe, there's probably a planet where stupid goes to feel better about itself." Maya began pacing around the chamber, her soft-soled shoes making no sound on the metal deck. "You want to know what real leadership looks like? It's not about who can lift the heaviest thing, or who has the biggest crown collection." She paused at the viewing port, gazing out at the assembled fleet that hung in space around them. Thousands of ships, representing dozens of species, all waiting to see what would happen next. "Real leadership," Maya continued, "is about making the hard decisions when nobody else can. It's about seeing solutions where others see only problems. And sometimes, it's about knowing when to throw tradition out the nearest airlock." Vec-9 followed her gaze to the fleet beyond. Those ships contain warriors from across the galaxy. They came here expecting to witness the coronation of a new alpha. What will they think when they learn you have discarded the crown? "They'll think exactly what I want them to think," Maya replied without turning around. "That the old ways are dead, and something better is about to begin." The communication console began chirping frantically. Vec-9 scuttled over to check the incoming messages, his claws clicking against the interface. "We are receiving hails from the fleet commanders. They demand to know why the coronation ceremony has been delayed. Tell them there won't be one." "What?" Maya finally turned from the viewport, and Vec-9 was startled to see that her expression had grown serious. Gone was the casual mockery, replaced by something that made his instincts scream danger warnings. Tell them that the age of the Alpha is over. Tell them that from now on, leadership in this sector will be earned through competence, not conquest. Tell them that anyone who has a problem with that can discuss it with me personally. They will not accept this, Vec-9 protested. The Corvan Empire alone has 3 dreadnoughts in that fleet. The Zephyrian battlecruisers could reduce this station to particles. Without the crown, without the traditional authority it represents, they have no reason to acknowledge your leadership. Maya's grin returned, but this time it held no humor. Oh, sweetie, you really don't understand humans at all, do you? Before Vec-9 could ask what she meant, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The tactical display lit up with warning indicators as weapon systems across the fleet powered up. It appeared that someone had decided to test the humans' resolve. Commander Torres, came a booming voice over the general communication channel, the translator rendering it in perfectly pompous tones. This is War Chief Grimtusk of the Corvan Third Fleet. You will replace the crown immediately and submit to proper authority, or we will be forced to take corrective action. Maya walked over to the communication console and leaned into the microphone. Hi there, Grimtusk. Quick question. Is that supposed to be a threat? It is a statement of fact, human. You have 30 standard time units to comply. Oh, well, in that case, Maya paused dramatically. No. The word hung in the air, like a challenge to the universe itself. Then you have chosen death, Grimtusk snarled. All ships, prepare to fire, on my command. Vec-9 felt his bodily fluids turn to ice. The human had just signed all their death warrants with a single syllable. He began calculating how long it would take to reach the escape pods. Maya, however, seemed completely unconcerned. She was humming something under her breath while she worked at another console. Commander Torres? Vec-9 ventured. Perhaps this would be an appropriate time for a strategic withdrawal? Oh, we're way past that point, Maya replied cheerfully. Besides, I'm curious to see if Grimtusk is as stupid as his name suggests. War Chief Grimtusk has commanded fleets for over 2 centuries. His tactical brilliance is legendary. Is it, though? Maya finished whatever she was doing and stepped back from the console. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like he just made the classic mistake of threatening a human without bothering to find out what humans are capable of. The tactical display showed the Corvan dreadnoughts moving into attack formation. Energy signatures spiked as their main weapons began charging. Across the fleet, other ships were taking similar positions, clearly intending to support the Corvan assault. All stations report ready, War Chief, came a subordinate's voice over the open channel. Excellent. Human, you have 10 time units to reconsider your position. Maya picked up a small device from the console and began tossing it from hand to hand like a ball. Tell me, Grimtusk, what do you know about human military doctrine? Enough to know that you are vastly outnumbered and outgunned. True, but you missed the important part. See, humans have this interesting quirk. When we're faced with impossible odds, we don't surrender. We don't negotiate. We cheat. Cheat? Grimtusk's confusion was audible. Oh yes. We cheat so hard and so thoroughly that by the time our enemies figure out what we've done, they're usually too busy exploding to complain about it. Vec-9 noticed that Maya's casual tossing of the small device had become more deliberate. She was holding it like someone preparing to throw something important. 5 time units remaining, Grimtusk announced. You know what the best part is? Maya continued conversationally. You all came here expecting to see a coronation. Instead, you're about to get a demonstration of why humans don't need crowns to rule. Time's up, human. All ships, open fire. The space around the station erupted in light as dozens of vessels unleashed their weapons simultaneously. Particle beams, plasma torpedoes, and kinetic projectiles streaked through the void in a coordinated barrage that should have reduced the station to its component atoms. Should have. Instead, the attacks struck some kind of invisible barrier and dissipated harmlessly. The entire fleet's opening salvo, enough firepower to crack a moon, simply vanished into nothingness. "What sorcery is this?" Grimtusk roared. Maya held up the small device she'd been tossing. "Not sorcery. Technology. Specifically, human technology, that we've been very careful not to share with anyone else. You want to know what this is? It's a reality anchor." "A what?" "Think of it as a cosmic cheat code. It creates a localized field where the laws of physics work the way I want them to work, instead of the way they're supposed to work. Within this field, your weapons don't function. Your shields don't function. Your engines don't function. Basically, nothing functions except what I allow to function." The tactical display showed the fleet's vessels attempting to maneuver, but their movements were sluggish and erratic. Some ships appeared to be completely dead in space. "Impossible," Grimtusk breathed. "Oh, it gets better," Maya said with evident satisfaction. "See, the really fun thing about reality anchors is that they're powered by confidence. The more certain I am that something will work, the more likely it is to actually work. And right now, I'm feeling very, very confident." She pressed a button on the device, and suddenly every weapon system in the fleet turned and pointed at Grimtusk's flagship. "Oops," Maya said with mock concern. "Looks like your own guns don't agree with your leadership style. This is impossible. You cannot simply rewrite the laws of physics." "Watch me." Maya pressed another button. This time, every ship in the fleet began broadcasting the same message simultaneously. "All hail Commander Maya Torres, Supreme Leader of the Free Sectors." "I didn't program that one," Maya admitted to Vec 9. "I think the reality anchor is starting to develop a sense of humor." War Chief Grimtusk's voice crackled over the communication system, but now it sounded considerably less confident. "What? What do you want?" "I want everyone to listen very carefully," Maya announced, her voice carrying to every ship in the fleet. "The old system is finished. No more alphas. No more trial by combat. No more bowing down to whoever can throw the biggest punch. From now on, this sector operates under new management." She paused to let that sink in before continuing. "Anyone who wants to be part of the new order is welcome to stay. Anyone who doesn't is welcome to leave. But anyone who tries to challenge the new system—" She gestured at the helpless fleet surrounding them. "Well, you've seen what happens to people who try to challenge the new system." The silence stretched for long moments. Finally, a new voice spoke up over the general channel. "Commander Torres, this is Captain Velterra of the Zephyrian Exploration Corps. We would like to know more about this new system you propose." "Smart question," Maya approved. "The new system is based on a radical concept called competence. Positions of authority go to people who actually know what they're doing, instead of people who are good at hitting things. Resources get allocated based on need and efficiency, not political connections. Conflicts get resolved through negotiation and compromise, not violence." "And if negotiation fails?" asked another voice. Maya's grin turned predatory. "Then I cheat harder than the other guy." More voices joined the conversation, asking questions, expressing cautious interest, or in a few cases, demanding more details about human technology. Through it all, War Chief Grimtusk remained ominously silent. Vec 9 found himself staring at the discarded crown, where it lay near the waste disposal. "Commander Torres, what happens to the old ways? The traditions? The history?" Maya followed his gaze, and her expression softened slightly. "They go in the museum, where they belong, Vec. We'll remember them, study them, learn from their mistakes. but we won't be ruled by them anymore. She walked over to the crown and picked it up, examining it more carefully than before. You know what? This thing actually has some beautiful craftsmanship. Shame it was wasted on such a terrible idea. Will you truly not wear it? Vec9 asked. Hell no! But I might put it on display somewhere with a sign that says, "This is what happens when you let ego design your government." The communication console chimed with an incoming priority message. Vec9 checked the display and felt his exoskeleton go cold. Commander Torres, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting an incoming fleet. Configuration unknown. But they're big. At least 50 of them. They'll be within weapons range in approximately 2 standard hours. Any idea who they belong to? Vec9 manipulated the controls, trying to enhance the sensor resolution. What he saw made his secondary hearts skip several beats. The energy signatures match historical records for the hegemony fleet. Maya went very still. The hegemony, as in the ancient empire that supposedly went extinct 5,000 years ago? The very same. And if the legends are accurate, they make our current situation look like a minor diplomatic disagreement. Maya stared at the approaching fleet markers on the display. For the first time since Vec9 had met her, the human looked genuinely concerned. Well, she said finally, this should be interesting. Maya Torres stood before the main tactical display, watching 50 massive ships approach like harbingers of galactic doom. Around her, the command center buzzed with nervous energy as various species tried to process the fact that their worst nightmare was about to knock on their door. Commander Torres, Captain Veltara's voice crackled through the communication system. Our historical databases indicate the hegemony possessed weapons capable of sterilizing entire star systems. Perhaps we should consider evacuation protocols? Evacuation? Maya raised an eyebrow. Where exactly would you suggest we evacuate to? Last I checked, space is pretty big, but not big enough to hide from people who conquered half the galaxy. War Chief Grimtusk, apparently having found his voice again, decided to contribute his tactical wisdom. The human speaks truth for once. The hegemony's reach extended across 1,000 sectors. If they have truly returned, nowhere is safe. Oh, look who's suddenly chatty again, Maya said dryly. 5 minutes ago you were ready to blast me into space dust. Now, you want to have a strategy meeting? The situation has evolved. You think? Maya turned to Vec9, who was frantically working multiple consoles simultaneously. What's our timeline looking like? The hegemony vessels are maintaining steady approach velocity. At current rate, they will reach optimal firing range in 97 minutes and 14 seconds. Vec9 paused in his calculations. Commander, I must ask, will your reality anchor be sufficient against hegemony technology? Maya was quiet for a moment, which made everyone in the command center significantly more nervous than her usual sarcasm did. Honestly, I have no idea. Human reality anchors work great against conventional physics, but the hegemony supposedly had access to technologies that we've never even theorized about. She tapped her fingers against the console. Still, I've got a few tricks they probably haven't seen before. Such as? Grimtusk demanded. Such as none of your business until I decide whether you're friend or foe, Grimmy. Before Grimtusk could respond to that delightful nickname, new alarms began sounding throughout the station. The tactical display shifted to show something that made several bridge crew members emit distressed noises in various alien languages. Commander! Vec9's voice cracked with panic. The hegemony fleet. Just stopped! Maya studied the display. The approaching ships had indeed halted their advance, hanging motionless in space like predators deciding whether their prey was worth the effort. Stopped how? Dead stop? Or tactical positioning? Neither. They appear to be scanning us. As if summoned by those words, a new voice filled the command center. It spoke in perfectly modulated tones that somehow managed to sound both ancient and artificial at the same time. Greetings, inhabitants of this primitive staging area. We are the Hegemony Reclamation Fleet, returned to restore order to our wayward territories. Identify your current leadership structure so that we may proceed with appropriate subjugation protocols. Maya looked around the command center, noting the various expressions of terror, despair, and resignation on every face present. Well, that was polite, she observed. I especially like the part about appropriate subjugation protocols. Really rolls off the tongue. Commander Torres, Veltara whispered urgently. What do? We do what humans do best when faced with impossible odds and pompous enemies, Maya replied, walking over to the main communication console. We give them exactly what they're not expecting. She activated the general broadcast channel, ensuring her response would reach every ship in both fleets. Hegemony Reclamation Fleet. This is Commander Maya Torres of the Free Sectors Alliance. Thank you for the introduction, though I have to say, your marketing department needs work. Subjugation protocols sounds like something you'd find in a technical manual written by robots with no sense of humor. The silence that followed her response was so profound that Vec-9 could hear his own circulatory system pumping. Finally, the artificial voice returned. Human designation Maya Torres. Your response parameters fall outside acceptable diplomatic frameworks. Please reformulate your surrender in standard compliance terminology. Oh, sweetie, Maya said, with genuine amusement. I think there's been a misunderstanding. See, I wasn't surrendering. I was insulting you. There's a difference. This time the pause was longer, as if the hegemony representatives were consulting some kind of ancient manual that had never covered this particular scenario. Human Maya Torres, your behavioral patterns are inconsistent with predictive models. Clarification required. Are you experiencing a psychological breakdown due to fear? Nope, just getting warmed up. Tell me, how long have you guys been away? 5,000 years? Because, boy, have you missed some interesting developments. Vec-9 watched in fascination as Maya began typing commands into multiple systems simultaneously. Whatever she was doing, it was complex enough to require her full attention while still maintaining the conversation. Temporal displacement is irrelevant to current operational requirements, the voice stated. Lesser species remain lesser species, regardless of elapsed time periods. See, that's where you're wrong, Maya said cheerfully. Lesser species have this annoying habit of evolving, especially when they're motivated by things like survival, revenge, and really good coffee. Coffee is not recognized as a strategic resource. Then you definitely haven't been paying attention. The tactical display suddenly lit up with new information as Maya's typing reached a crescendo. Instead of showing ship positions, the screen now displayed something that looked like a three-dimensional map of local space, complete with energy flow patterns and gravitational field distributions. Commander Torres, Vec-9 asked nervously, what are you doing? Setting up the chessboard, Maya replied without looking away from her work. The hegemony thinks they're dealing with the same primitive species they left behind 5 millennia ago. Time to show them how much the neighborhood has changed. The artificial voice returned, now carrying a subtle note of impatience. Human Maya Torres, you will cease your current activities and prepare for inspection by hegemony evaluation teams. Compliance is not optional. You know what? You're absolutely right. Compliance isn't optional. Maya's fingers flew over the final sequence of commands. Lucky for me, I'm not big on compliance. She pressed a single button, and reality hiccuped. The tactical display exploded with activity, as every natural phenomenon within a dozen light-years suddenly began behaving in ways that violated several fundamental laws of physics. Asteroid fields started moving in perfect geometric patterns. Gas clouds began forming into complex spiral structures. Most impressively, The local star began pulsing in a rhythm that suspiciously resembled an ancient human song called Shave and a Haircut. "What in the name of all creation?" Grimtusk began. "Stellar engineering," Maya explained casually. "Humans figured out how to reprogram star systems about 300 years ago. We just don't usually advertise the fact because it tends to make people nervous." The hegemony voice, when it returned, sounded distinctly less confident than before. "This stellar manipulation is impossible without hegemony-class technology." "Funny thing about impossible," Maya replied. "It's only impossible until somebody does it. Then it becomes Tuesday." On the tactical display, the hegemony fleet was beginning to move again, but their formation had shifted from confident approach to cautious defensive positioning. "Human Maya Torres, explain how lesser species have acquired stellar manipulation capabilities." "Lesser species?" Maya laughed. "Oh, honey, you really have been gone too long. We're not lesser species anymore. We're barely the same species." She gestured to the display, where the star's pulsing had shifted to a more complex pattern. "See, while you've been taking your extended nap, the rest of us have been busy. We've figured out faster-than-light communication, reality manipulation, temporal mechanics, and about 6 different ways to turn mathematics into a weapon." "Temporal mechanics are restricted technology." "Were restricted technology. Past tense. These days, every third-year engineering student knows how to build a basic time loop. It's not even considered advanced coursework anymore." Vec 9 felt his understanding of the universe shift slightly. "Commander Torres, are you saying that humans routinely manipulate time?" "Routinely might be overstating it," Maya admitted. "But we've got the theory down pretty solid. Want me to demonstrate?" "No," several voices shouted simultaneously. "Probably wise. Temporal mechanics get messy when you're dealing with this many ships in one area." The hegemony voice returned, but now it carried undertones that the translator rendered as uncertainty and growing concern. "Human Maya Torres, hegemony records indicate that stellar engineering requires computational resources equivalent to an entire planetary civilization. How have you achieved this level of technological integration?" Maya's grin turned predatory. "That's the beautiful part. We didn't achieve it. We just asked politely." "Asked whom?" "The stars themselves, obviously. Turns out, if you approach stellar engineering as a conversation rather than a conquest, stars are surprisingly cooperative. They've been sitting around for billions of years with nothing to do but burn hydrogen. Most of them are actually pretty bored." The star's pulsing shifted again, this time to what sounded suspiciously like a musical fanfare. "See? He's having fun." There was a longer pause before the hegemony responded. When the voice returned, it sounded like it was consulting increasingly frantic databases. "Human Maya Torres, these capabilities suggest technological advancement beyond projected evolutionary timelines. Clarification required. What other developments have occurred during our absence?" "Oh, where do I even begin?" Maya settled back against the console, clearly enjoying herself. "Well, there's the obvious stuff like interspecies cooperation, galactic trade networks, and the invention of really good pizza. But the fun developments are the weird ones." "Define weird." "Well, there's the Zephyrian discovery that consciousness can be used as a construction material. The Corvin breakthrough in weaponized mathematics. Oh, and my personal favorite, the Andromedan proof that the universe has a sense of humor. Consciousness cannot be used as a construction material. Tell that to the Zephyrian moon cities. They've been building with crystallized thoughts for 2 centuries now. Mathematics cannot be weaponized. Grimtusk, want to tell them about your division by 0 torpedoes? War Chief." Grimtusk's voice carried a note of pride, despite the circumstances. "The mathematics weapons program has been quite successful. We can now cause enemy ships to experience logical paradoxes that result in spontaneous existence, failure. And the universe's sense of humor? The hegemony voice asked with obvious reluctance. That one's still being studied, Maya admitted. But the evidence is pretty convincing. I mean, you guys showing up right after I threw away that ridiculous crown? That's definitely cosmic comedy timing. The tactical display showed the hegemony fleet beginning to spread out, though whether this represented attack formation or preparation for retreat was unclear. Human Maya Torres. These developments represent impossible technological advancement rates. Request permission to conduct detailed scans of your civilization's development records. Permission denied. But I'll make you a counteroffer. State your terms. Maya straightened up, and her casual demeanor shifted into something more serious. You can join the new galactic community as equals, following the same rules as everyone else. No special privileges, no subjugation protocols, no claims of ancient authority, just another species trying to make their way in a universe that's gotten a lot more interesting since you left. Unacceptable. Hegemony superiority is established fact. Was established fact. 5,000 years ago, things change. The star's pulsing shifted to what sounded distinctly like a drum roll. Or, Maya continued, you can try to impose your will by force and find out exactly how much things have changed. Fair warning, though, the last empire that tried to conquer the free sectors ended up as a tourist attraction. Very educational. Kids love the interactive exhibits, showing how their invasion fleet got turned into a contemporary art installation. You are bluffing. Am I? Maya pressed another series of controls, and the tactical display zoomed out to show the larger stellar region. Dozens of star systems were now pulsing in synchronized patterns, creating a light show visible across several sectors. This is just the opening act, friends. The real show hasn't even started yet. The hegemony fleet had stopped moving entirely. After several minutes of silence, the artificial voice returned. Human Maya Torres. Hegemony command requests. Negotiation parameters. Now we're talking. Maya's cheerful demeanor returned instantly. Vec, open a conference channel. Let's get everyone involved in this conversation. As the communication systems activated to include representatives from dozens of species, Maya walked over to where the discarded crown still lay near the waste disposal unit. She picked it up and examined it thoughtfully. You know what? She said to no one in particular. I think I know exactly what to do with this thing. She walked back to the communication console and held up the crown so that the visual pickup would transmit its image to every ship in both fleets. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted non-binary entities of various species, she announced, I'd like to present you with a symbol of the old way of doing things. A crown that represents rule through strength, authority through violence, and leadership through intimidation. She paused for dramatic effect. And now, I'd like to present you with a symbol of the new way. Maya opened her hands and let the crown fall. Instead of clattering to the deck, it hung suspended in mid-air, slowly rotating as it was caught in the station's artificial gravity field. No one wears the crown anymore, she declared. No one gets to claim authority over others just because they're stronger or older or have better weapons. From now on, leadership is earned through service, authority through consent, and respect through action. The floating crown began to glow with a soft light as the station's systems responded to her words. The age of empires is over. The age of cooperation begins now. War Chief Grimtusk was the first to speak. Commander Torres, on behalf of the Corvan fleet, we accept your proposal for the new galactic order. The Zephyrian Exploration Corps stands with the Free Sectors Alliance, Captain Veltara added. One by one, representatives from across both fleets declared their acceptance of the new system. Even some of the hegemony vessels began transmitting acknowledgement signals. Finally, the artificial voice spoke again, but this time it sounded different. Less artificial. More. Curious. Human Maya Torres. The Hegemony Reclamation Fleet requests permission to begin integration protocols with your Free Sectors Alliance. Granted, with conditions. Your weapons stay powered down, your ships follow traffic control guidelines, and someone needs to work on that artificial voice thing. It's creepy. Understood. Also, thank you. For what? For showing us that superiority and cooperation are not mutually exclusive concepts. Maya smiled as she watched the crown continue its slow rotation in the artificial gravity field. Around her, the command center buzzed with activity as species that had been enemies moments before began discussing trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and joint scientific ventures. "Vec," she said quietly. "Make sure that crown gets properly displayed in the station's main gallery, with a sign." "What should the sign say, Commander Torres?" Maya thought for a moment, then grinned. "Here lies the old way, death by evolution." As the two fleets began the complex process of integration and the star settled back into its normal rhythm, Maya Torres looked out at the vast tapestry of ships representing dozens of species, all working together toward a common future. "Not bad for a day's work," she murmured. "Commander Torres," Vec 9 asked, "what happens now?" Maya turned away from the viewport, her expression bright with possibility. "Now, my friend, they get to find out what the universe looks like when everybody works together instead of trying to beat each other up. And if we encounter other ancient empires awakening from their long slumber," Maya's grin turned decidedly predatory. "Then, they get to learn the same lesson the hegemony just learned. The universe doesn't stand still, and neither do the people in it." The crown continued its eternal rotation in the gallery, a monument to the idea that some traditions are worth preserving in museums, where they can be appreciated for their historical significance without being allowed to dictate the future. And, throughout the galaxy, the news spread that the age of the Alpha was truly over, and the age of cooperation had begun.